I'm home. I made it home. I just concluded a 2,600 mile road trip, and where I ended up halfway on my trip was in Phoenix, Arizona. Now, as you guys know, some of you that have been following along, some of you haven't, so we're going to fill you in on the backstory. I have been graced enough that there's a lot of you out there that really enjoyed these interview videos I did. The first one, of course, was with Motormouth Mall. Then the next one was with 300. And then the next one was with Motormouth Mall. And then the next one was 63. And then Bullet Bob and 766. And we're going to continue on in that little story. I've put them together as a group on my YouTube channel. So if you guys want to exit out of this and go watch any of the other one of the videos, I've got them put together underneath the category called Spoken Word. It's oral history. And I want to grab it, bring it in tight, make it so all that you guys can watch it and enjoy it and share it and learn from it or add to your layer of knowledge from it, all from the spoken history. Now, let's face it, we're losing guys left and right, and I want to get them before they're gone. I've got a huge trip planned later on this year where I'm going back east, and I'm going to sit down with quite a few guys back there. And I'm not too sure how I'm going to get me and all my equipment there. I'm probably going to have to buy stock in Pelican cases. I digress. I'll figure it out. This trip, I happened to end up at the front door of Firestik. The younger gentleman in the video to come, his name is Ricky. He is, well, he's been my point of contact setting this thing up. And his dad, Rick, is an amazing guy. He reminds me of Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was like, I've heard people refer to Ronald Reagan as to turn the camera on and let him talk. Just loved to listen to him talk. Rick's the same way. He told me later that part of his professional career has been on TV or speaking publicly and stuff. And boy, howdy does it show. You just want to hit record, sit back, and let him go. So I hope you guys enjoy this. The most famous antenna by far, hands down, Firestik. They will never claim that they handle the most power. They'll never claim anything other than they work good for what they are. And it's truthful. They do. And they're a pretty diversified company. They got all kinds of different products that they make, which we're going to cover. Primarily, we're going to focus on the antennas. Firestik was also the home of PAL Electronics. They made VFOs and VCOs, and there's a story involved with that, why they had to change the designation. It's coming, you'll see. Amps, watt meters, they've made all kinds of stuff. You probably have a product either in your mobile or have had it at some point or another in your life, and you don't even realize it, that has come from this place. I'm here to tell you, people think of Firestik and they think of, oh, well, it's a good little trucker antenna or whatnot. They make a lot of products. I sat there and watched one guy hand make springs. So I want you to think about this. Every spring-loaded base mount you've ever seen, ever, came from these guys. Like, they make the best antenna studs in the world because they're all made one at a time by hand and with care. You'll see. Gentlemen, Rick and Ricky from Firestik Antenna. And once again, thanks to all of you, and thanks to my Patreons for helping me make this happen. We'll see you.
She's had a long run with this place. Was it 1963?
1962, actually. I think we used that at the date that the company got legs, and it started in an insurance agency here in Phoenix. The guy was just a hobbyist. So he was selling insurance, and people were talking about radios. I think CD was, I believe, legalized in 1955 when it came about. Nobody knew what was going on. So, but he was a hobbyist and had a little table in the insurance company selling radios, and that's really where this company actually started, small ways, and it didn't really do much until probably 1972, 74. And he was selling, he started the company, and he was selling antenna specialist antennas, Turner antennas, Annixter Mark. He was selling Pierce Simpson and Courier radios and whatnot. So yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, he was more like a traveling salesman selling communications.
And then when when it started getting more legs, that's when the company really started, and it went over to California, and it was over there for a couple years.
Where at?
Stanton, California, and
Okay.
that's when they were making the linears and the VFOs. That's all started. No antennas at that point, and so I think there was a lot of pressure coming from the FCC on the linears and the VFOs, and like I was telling you, we changed it to VCO, and the grind the FCC changed the name to Fire Communications Corporation, so it would be FCC just to grind it, but. Then in early '75, moved to Phoenix, and that's when the antennas started. And it was maybe April or May of 1976. I think the first time we showed the KW3 and the KW5 antennas. And originally those antennas were a tapered rod because it was 23 channel. We didn't need the bandwidth. So, and that ran for quite a while.
You were still, the PAL name was most significant. Firestik was just a brand name. Right. So I think the early antenna tips said PAL Firesticks.
Yeah, PAL Firesticks. So, and the PAL is interesting because it goes back to the 60s. And our first logo had the little hand like this. Peace and love. PAL. So it was a hippie. It was a hippie name.
A patchouli-based thing.
Yeah, hippie name that started with the PAL, and we kept that. Even, I started working here in 1976 August. I came here. I had got out of college, and I was going to Arizona. After being in the military. And being in non-winter climates for 2 years, I couldn't stand winter. I had to get out of Michigan where I was at. So when I got out of college, I came out here. And I was going to work I wanted to work for General Motors at the proving grounds, desert proving grounds. And that's what my college degree was in, the automotive. And so I applied for that job out there at the proving grounds. And then I went to a couple weeks I was here. I went to visit my aunt, Lillian, and just a family visit. And while I was there, I was asked you can come work. I need a sales manager, and I'm thinking that's kind of crazy. I have no experience in sales at all. Oh no, you can do that. You can do that. So I took the job temporarily. I took the job in August of 1976. And here I'm still. And we have
temporarily.
Temporarily. I'm still here.
He's been working here longer than I've been alive. And I was born in '76.
Temporary job.
Yeah.
Temporary
job. We call this the Hotel California. You can check out, but you can never leave. And that's kind of, he's been here working since he was like 14 years old or something. And Cheryl's been here 32 or 33 years. Ed's been here 40 years. Yeah, it's... you get trapped.
So what started you into radio then?
Well, radio, it was starting to gain interest. And so we started doing the radios, but we didn't do them for a very long time. We started with radios maybe in '75, and by '77, by the time the 40 channels came out, we bailed because...
No. You personally. What got you into radio, or is it just
No, nothing.
just the business?
Just the
I was
business.
here, just the business.
Yeah.
Okay, so you talking on the radio was no interest,
yeah.
never had a handle,
Absolutely.
never.
I never talked on a radio at all. So
He was trained in auto mechanics.
Yeah.
That's what he was going to go into.
Yeah.
And just, hey, be a sales manager for this communications company.
Because a lot of the guys I talk to, they start out like you, get hired on at some place that's affiliated with it, and then all of a sudden it's like, let's go. And they're all about radio 24/7 from that point on. So
yeah. So we did so when I started working here, we were selling radios. The antennas were just a little bit of a business, and then the Japanese they zoomed on that market. You know, they were everybody, all the radios, and we had been bringing radios in out of Japan that were being made, and we had a big order in for radios, and we pulled it because we was seeing what was happening to market. Everybody, the Jap, they were taking over the whole thing, so we pulled out of the radio business, and we knew the 40 channel stuff was coming along, so it was going to be a whole redesign. No more chips. I mean, no more crystals.
Crystals, yeah.
No, it went from crystals to chips and phase lock loop, and so we just concentrated on the antennas, and that started, like I say, the first antennas were done in '75.
Yeah.
When I started working here in '76, there wasn't much going on. We were in a building, 5,000 square foot building up on Weldon Street here, at 27th Avenue in Indian School, and then it really started steamrolling, and we learned really fast that 5,000 square feet was not going to make it. So went looking for a building, found this building, and we moved here in January of 1977. Went full bore on radios. We were still doing, when Ed was hired, he's still here. We hired him out of PIT as a technician because we were still making VCOs and watt meters. And so he was tweaking. He was on the bench doing all the adjustments and fine tuning and tweaking everything. And that mostly that was just running out of parts. We ran out of parts and quit making all the electronics and just went full bore on the antennas.
Well, the antennas must have taken off quick to be able to have that confidence just to bail out of what you're
flip
doing.
over that fast. That's a huge transition very quickly.
There was at the time, everybody knew there was a lot of work being done on top-loaded antennas, and people didn't really know much about it. They knew about base-loaded antennas because everybody was an antenna specialist and Avanti.
Yeah, I call it the antenna whisperer effect.
Yeah.
You get one guy who's like, "Oh, I know more about it than you."
Yeah. We used to see antenna specialists, and some of those people will say, "Oh, they're never going to accept these big, heavy fiberglass antennas." Blah blah blah, and it just took off because it's just known. And you look in the books and technical books and antenna manuals, it can tell you the antenna, a top-loaded antenna, it's kind of like a Ferrari with 8 carburetors. They're more work to get them tuned on the vehicle, and they're more sensitive to their environment, but they outperform the base loads and even the center loads. So, but they are harder to get tuned on the vehicle. There's a little more to them.
They can be fussy.
Yeah, they don't like.
But there's more to it than just trimming a little bit of wire off the end.
We explain to people all the time. You can't tune an antenna. You can't even tune an antenna on a vehicle with the car door open, unless you drive with the car door open. Because you shut the door and the profile of the vehicle changes. That's always been a hard concept for people to understand, that the vehicle is part of the system. And we have that all the time. And over the years, we have had antenna. So they put it in the, one guy had it in a two bumper because he didn't want it exposed. Another guy had a mag mount, opened the hood and stuck the mag mount on the firewall.
Yeah. We get people that want to put the antenna inside the vehicle.
I had a guy.
They don't want it to look.
Right. Yeah. Don't.
You know,
Nice.
We don't want
ugly
to
on the
see it.
outside.
Nice, yeah.
A guy here with a pickup truck and a camper, and he wanted to put the 2-foot between the cab and the camper, and I went, "There's no way." He got mad at me.
It's like putting the antenna on the side of the camper, and the antenna is like 2
Right,
inches
right,
away
right.
from the camper wall
And
itself. That's made of aluminum.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to work.
Yeah, and so, you know, and we get through that with antennas with, you know, we got a couple different designs, the Firestik 2s and the Firestik, you know, it's all about Ohm's law. It's simple stuff, you know, electronically, you know, because you're feeding the antenna with low voltage and high current on the basis. And there, people are wondering, how do you ground it? Because they got the DC mentality, like a light bulb, you got to have two wires.
Right.
But you know, explain to them that when we start collapsing the windings, we start creating a magnetic field that slows the current down. And when you slow the current down, the voltage goes up. Yeah. And so that's a simple induction coil principle of the antennas. And so with the Firestik and Firestik 2, we start compressing about halfway up the antenna. So you better have half or more of the antenna. We try to make 2/3 of the antenna above the roof line, away from, you know, parallel surfaces. And even on, when you get on metal and you get reflection, that's one thing. But you can put them on some vehicles with a fiberglass top, and you don't get the bad SWR because the metal's not really reflecting, but it's altering the magnetic field, and so you get a distorted
Coupling
pattern.
is the term, but yeah.
Yeah, the pattern distorts, energy gets absorbed. So, yeah. Anyways, that the antenna story, more or less, and then we came out with the new Firestik. The original Firestik antennas were on a tapered rod.
Okay.
But when they came out 40 channel,
Like tapered like a 102-inch whip, right?
yeah, not that radical, but I have a couple here. Tapered ones, and we used a lighter gauge wire, but when we went 40 channels, we needed more bandwidth, and so we had to move up to a 19 gauge wire and go to straight 3/8 fiberglass the whole way, because we needed that in order to get the bandwidth out of the antenna, and that fixed it. Then the tunable tip. That was quite a thing. We got a patent, and Bob Steele and I designed that. And when we first came out, the tunable tip antenna, it was called the diesel stick.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Because we
Some
were
of those old
pushing
caps.
the trucks. Truckers was a big market then. So okay, we had the diesel stick, but that only lasted maybe a year and a half, and then we came up, you know, changed it to the Firestik 2. And amazingly, it always drove me crazy that I thought that the tunable tip antenna, when it came out, that the cut to tune KW stuff was going to go away.
And it has not.
It finally happened. Probably within just recent years here. But I used to track that too. I used to, through the 80s, through the 90s. It's like, when is the Firestik 2?
35 years before the Firestik 2 passed the KWs.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, a long time. And the tuning is so easy. But there are still applications where the KW is a better antenna than the Firestik 2.
You know, in my field that I'm in, there are way better ways to do what I do. Like, there's way better ways to make RF power than what we currently use. The problem is that the gentlemen that are in this market are very comfortable with what they know.
Yes.
And they're very not interested in change.
That's
Or learning a different way to do things.
Yep.
So, I've come out with a couple different ideas and sold a couple of them, and then you learn your market, and it's like, they don't want to change.
We've got a local customer here. I see him about once a week, and he solely buys the older KW antenna. And we've asked him that. Why don't you go with the FS tunable tip? He's like, this is what I know. And it's like, well, the tunable tip's easier, obviously.
Right.
Up, down.
Right.
He's like, no.
We give you an Allen wrench and everything with it, and we put Loctite on it and everything. I get it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. But it's when you do KWs all the time, I can look at them. I can take a SWR reading channel 1, take one at channel 40, see what's in, and pull off 3 turns of wire and recheck it. And people are afraid they're clipping. Can you imagine taking off a eighth of an inch? They would have to tune that antenna, pull that cap off 45 times, and it would drive them crazy. But so it's
like we were saying, that people they've done it one way for decades, and they're not going to change.
But and
it's a product, so if you're still selling the high volume, why eliminate the product if it's something that you still can produce?
Absolutely. In the KW antennas, we put extra wire on the 3-foot and 4-foot because a lot of, as the trucks were going more towards fiberglass and getting away from metal, we needed additional length on the antenna. So like a KW4 antenna, it's got like 8 turns of wire more than the FS antenna does. And so that works really good on the trucks. When they're ground plane deficient, you need more wire. You need more antennas. So they'll stay popular in the trucking business, and the people know how to tune them. And of course, there's the common thing. I can't. I don't get out. I hear people. I don't get out. What's your SWR? What?
What's an SWR?
What? No, we get SRWs. My SRWs. And I said, just because you can hear, I have to explain it. The radio has 2 circuits. It got a transmit and a receive circuit. And you don't tune your antenna, you burn out the transmit circuit, but the receive still works, and you can hear people, and they can't. We heard that, and that was a nightmare.
Just let them go.
Yeah, that was a nightmare. And the other one was when all these people with the Kenworth and the pack car, they started putting their own coax in the trucks.
Oh yeah.
And it took us. I don't know how long. I got tired of people calling. I can hear people, they can't hear me. What? And SWRs are good. And then we figured out they were what they were doing. 99 pieces of coax cable with 45 connectors and in boxes, and split the AMF. And
deal with it every day.
Yeah, the dealers had 55-gallon when they figured it out. They had 55-gallon drums of coax. It is pouring
brand new coax.
Right in the trash can. Drivers would come in, and the guys figured out real quick. You want me to fix it? I have to change the coax. Oh, I know, it's the brand new coax. Yeah, well, then if I can't change the coax, go away, because the antenna's not going to fix your problem. So yeah.
Let me just jump in here for a minute. Isn't Rick a kick in the ass? You just let him go. Just turn the camera on and let him talk. So, while we were shooting this last segment, and by the way, sorry for the abrupt start. There was no getting to introduce anybody. They just sat down and started talking. And I felt like it was my job to just kind of capture whatever happened. While we were shooting this segment, the door opened, and my friend Zane from Big Rig Radio, the guy that introduced me to these gentlemen, decided to finally show up. He showed up late. He was having a rough morning. He was up all night long making radio happen in his shop. And so to have him join us was really cool, because you can hear me and him starting to talk, have a little banter going on between the two of us as they were talking about coax and the multi-fittings and all the boxes that they use now. What they're talking about is, instead of having 15 antennas on the top of the truck, you know, one for AM, one for FM, you know, common terrestrial radio, and satellite and all this other stuff, they're taking it from the manufacturer and they're putting the CB antenna up, and they have a box that sits in between all of that. So the coax that goes to the radio, there's a splitter that's inside this box, and it splits off and allows you to use the CB antenna for your AM, FM, all that kind of stuff. Then they have another wire that goes off, and then you use it for the CB, and it's all going through one junction box. Well, on paper it works really good. In reality it doesn't. So what they were talking about was pulling all that crap out and making it have just a committed coax for that function. So that happened in the early 2000s, late 90s, like 98, 99. I seen that. I was working at a truck stop place myself at that point in time. Anyhow, long story short, we get joined by Zane here, and I'm going to have to skip over a couple of segments because we ended up having some audio issues. The little digital recorder that I brought was burning through batteries like crazy. The lapel microphones you see them wearing use phantom power, and, well, needless to say, I've got a big, beefy power supply, so when I do this the next time, we're not going to run out of battery. But we're going to jump around a little bit, but we are joined by Zane from Big Rig Radio, and just the conversation that these guys have from this point forward, priceless. I mean, priceless. Frickin' Rick, he's a kick in the ass. Let's go back to the video.
If it wasn't for Jimmy Carter, he put the fire in CB radio. With that oil embargo, he like to close the country down, and that's really what kicked this CB business in the rear, because truckers couldn't find fuel. People were all on the CB. Where can I get fuel? Where can I get fuel? Yeah, that really kicked it in the gear when they had that oil embargo going on. So, really punched the radio. Everybody had radios. I almost, a guy almost, he was pissed off me. We were coming down the rim with some friends, and we were on the CB. And the road was only a 2-lane road back in there in the early 80s, late 70s. And so I'm coming down the rim. He's talking to me. And he's back in traffic. And I said, after that white truck passes you, you're clear for quite a while. You can pass. So, pretty soon.
You have talked on the radio.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
2 minutes ago, he's trying to tell me, I've never been on the CB.
No.
When I first dirt and cigarette smoke. It's strictly just a business to me. I've never.
No. When I first came here, I didn't know squat about radios. But yeah, I had radios. My first car.
Getting here, there was nothing before.
Just
so
walked in the door.
Next thing, kind of radio. I don't know who the hell said you. Damn, you got me killed. Because he was someplace else, and he thought I was talking to him, that he should pull out and pass. And he pulled out.
Dan, you almost killed me.
Yeah, he's in the curvy road coming down on the rim, and he's pulled over to pass. And
here comes
vehicles coming up the road. Oh, and he was kind of pissed off. But no, I had soon after I got here, when I came, I was driving the 1976 Grand Prix. And I don't know if you ever remember the V-bars. Do you ever remember the V-bar antenna?
The V-bar was just a
I-bar.
No, a V-bar. I still got a couple around here.
Bracket.
That was a bracket. And I had it on my Grand Prix on a trunk lip mount, and it bolted onto the top of the stud, and it bent down, and you put 2 antennas on it.
Looked just like the peace and love.
Yeah, just like a peace sign.
Born from hippies.
Yeah, yeah. I was telling him that Pal was from Peace and Love. In the in the original logo had this. It had the fingers on it.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, Peace and Love. So
I was just a kid, and I would get picked up after school or something in that car. Mom would show up in that car, and those kids were like, "Man, this big blue metallic Grand Prix, like a 1976 Grand Prix with those V-bar mounted antennas on the back, two 3-foot Firesticks, probably red with a black tip or something like that. Just cruising around. People were like, "Man, that's a cool car."
And you know, I learned something about when we had the V-bars, because when I had them on that Grand Prix, the best SWR could get was maybe 1.6, 1.7. I just couldn't get anything better than it. So I had Bob Steele, the engineer. I said, we need to look at that. So we started dinking around and did some new antennas, and I had SWR like 1.2, and they worked less. They weren't as good as the 1.7 SWR. The 1.7 SWR antennas worked better than the two custom antennas we made with 1.2 SWR.
But you think about it, it's not a concept.
But it was because I'm sure it's the V-bar. They're bouncing. You can't, you're pouring power into two antennas.
But that was
like
still done as a single. Was it co-phased?
No, a single antenna.
So you were feeding it with a single coax into two antennas. The whole thing was never done. The whole
thing. Coax. And you're taking and you're running that through two feed points.
Yep.
So you'd have to make
and
both of them equally
cables.
shitty resonant. That way the RF has to go.
I have these little kits called die bars, and they were put out by Francis. And then there's a spacer. It's just a flat plate. Put two antennas up, and then you tape this plastic piece on there to keep them equal length apart, and it's supposed to double your gain, supposedly. Maybe it's on the same concept.
Ours tilted out.
Yeah.
The bar was there, and it had two tabs in it, and the antenna went
but what was the concept?
Angle.
Was the concept that it worked, or was the concept that's cool?
That's just cool.
Well, we sell two antennas.
It was a PAL.
Right.
Two
antennas instead of one. That's right.
It was PAL. With the fingers.
And that's something that I'm glad.
And they worked okay.
I'm glad we brought that up, because I feel like back then in the beginning, the guy who was running the show, he might have been a little bit more about marketing.
Yeah. Do we want to have the discussion about co-phasing antennas while we're here?
We could, but I'm just saying this guy wanted to hype stuff. He came up with ideas and
fun stuff
and concepts, and then I think in our more recent years, we want to make smart decisions for the customers. We want to tell them that don't work.
We still get. I had maybe a dozen V-bars. I still had a couple, and we still get requests, and we haven't had that product on the market for 35 or 40 years, and people still say, "Do you guys have any of those V-bars still?" I remember having those when I was a kid on my car, and it's a.
Of course, that was back when having an antenna on your car was cool.
Yeah,
and the cooler your antenna, the cooler you.
And there was a lot of crap going on. Wouldn't it CB? When somebody started putting them on glass CB antenna, what a nightmare. What a stupid idea. But the cell phone antennas were, everybody's running cell phone. And you had to tell, cell phones, you're going from here to a tower to, you're like repeaters, and you're not going station to station. You're broadcasting through a insulator piece of glass.
And you're also not, you're at 27 megahertz, a completely different frequency.
Yeah, I got brochures on things on the antenna, where you would put it in your headliner or your car. Ones that were...
You're telling me about people putting them on the inside of the firewall of the car and then closing the hood. You can't understand why they're not talking.
The thing is, on something like that, if the price is right, if you can keep it around 20, 30 bucks, then people are willing to spend that. And when they realize it's a piece of junk, they don't even take it back. they just throw it in the trash can. So I think companies that make those kind of
I've
products,
capitalized on that.
they're just making bucks.
Yeah.
You know,
The whole marketing thing. You know, what about the gold dots?
Oh, I love that. You don't know. Did
Oh
we
no,
tell
I
you
do
the
know the
gold?
gold dot story.
the
You told
gold
it to me the
star-
last time I was here, but everybody out there in the world doesn't know it.
Yeah, that was. You can put it right there if you want. Yeah, fine.
Yep.
Thank you,
What are your first name?
Rick.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Ricky Bobby, baby.
Yeah, that gold dot, man, that was the best thing. But back in
Let's
the
do the gold dot story. I want Are you
Okay.
willing to share the gold
Sure,
dot
the
story
gold
with
dot
the
story
whole
was
world?
unbelievable. So we had a few customers in the beginning, and they were loyal to Firestik and selling Firestik antennas. But the name, it was catching on. It was growing legs, and more people were getting in. This guy was on, I think, in Rhode Island, and he had that all the coast. He was the only guy selling Firesticks. But then another guy pops up in Connecticut, and the other guy pops up in North Carolina, and another. And so now he was taking our antennas and selling them above MSRP. So. So
You can't blame the guy for
yeah,
trying to make a dollar.
no.
That's
I thought
America.
Yeah, it was brilliant. And then the one day I come in here to work on a Monday, and the phone's ringing, and I'm getting these phone calls. What the hell you got? I've been a customer years, blah blah blah. And you got this new product out, and you didn't tell me about it. And this guy's is reaming me out. Oh, what are you talking about? It's those gold dot fire sticks. The gold dot fire stick. I don't know what you're talking about. Where do you see the so and so's got an ad all up and down the coast selling these gold dot antennas, all in the newspapers. I went, really? Who? He told me who it was. So I said, I'll get back to you. So I call the customer up, and I say, hey, can you tell me about some gold dot antennas you're selling? And he got one of them embarrassing laughs, kind of. and he told me, well, everybody was eating to my profits, eating into my business. So I got to thinking, I'll come up with something new. So I took all of my antennas home and spread them out on the table. And I had my 7-year-old daughter. I gave her a bottle of paint and a paintbrush and said, let's put a dot on every one of these antennas. Right about, so she made all these, and then he put the ad in the paper, gold dot antennas. He was selling the hell out of them. Nobody else could sell a regular fire stick because they didn't have a gold dot. I thought it was brilliant. I just can't support you, I can't tell people I'm making a gold dot antenna, but I think it was a brilliant marketing thing that he did. But back then when we used to go to the breaks and whatnot, man, can you imagine the crap that was being sold for CB? Everything. Everybody had QSL cards. He was
what, Little
Ricochet? I was a Ricochet racer. I had my QSL card, and he was a Little Ricochet. Then I had the kids. Cindy was the daughter was a little bunny
Baby Cottontail.
Baby Cottontail. and I had all the kids were on the CB. Yeah, but I used to have a bunch of that stuff up here. The CB glasses. Everything was CB. You could buy everything. Everything had CB. If it said CB on it, people would buy it. And you go to the breaks, it was total junk. Mm-hmm. But and then again, we were talking about the fun of the wonderful products that we made.
By Firestik. SWR spray.
Yeah, don't move for a second. By Firestik, sold by Firestik.
There we go.
Right.
SWR by Firestik.
SWR spray. Had it instructions, and it said a revolutionary product for the technically lacking antenna installer. Eliminates the need for all tools and SWR meters. Directions.
Technically lacking.
Yeah, squirt advanced formula SWR spray on antenna before installing to mount. Antenna must be clean and sanitized prior to application. Allows spray to dry. completely for best results. If one application fails to lower SWR to less than 1.5 to 1, continue applying every 24 hours until a satisfactory SWR has been achieved. These were fun. That was so fun.
We made these. We made these for a trade show.
Right.
A CES.
Here we are having a serious trade show, a consumer electronics show, the annual consumer electronics show, and we set these things up on a shelf just for kicks. And the looks.
How many people that come through that booth actually picked up on that?
I only had one guy go like he was going, and I'm watching him. He's reading everything, and then he picks up the other one, and then he turns around. He turns around and looks at us like seeing if we're laughing. Then he goes, "Are you serious about this?" But he was a radio guy. He was thinking, "What's going on?" So yeah, overmodulation gel,
Super
skip powder.
What's the fine print right on the super skip powder? I gotta know.
Here.
Super skip powder. Yeah. When properly applied, angle of radiation is altered to enhance skip communications. Remove vinyl tip from antenna and gently pour a small amount of super skip powder into the cavity. Without inverting tip, reinstall antenna and tip.
We don't want to lose all.
No.
Yeah, install antenna to mount as prescribed by manufacturer. So yeah.
We got anti-static wax. You just,
Oh my God.
it's a roll-on. You just rub it
Rub it
the
on your antenna.
And if you ever have,
What's the
if
fine,
your armpits
okay,
stink,
let's
you
do
just,
it. What's the fine print on that?
I'll have you read that one.
Oh my God.
Anti-static wax works on all types of antennas: transmit, receive only, low frequency, high frequency, metal, wood, and fiberglass. Anti-static wax represents a major breakthrough in the combined fields of physics, chemistry, and polymer design. Simply
good.
rub the wax on the antenna shaft once a week for static-free communications.
Once a week.
I'm telling you, that was fun. You know, and we did another thing. 1033.
The 1030?
1030.
It was a 1030 brochure.
1030 does not comply or something. The 10 code.
Is that the 1030 code?
1030.
I don't know.
1030.
We're all looking at each other like,
I don't know.
I know
It's
what
been
the
on.
I know what the 10 code is, but there's no 1030 in the 10 code.
There's something. We
have to look at that.
We had the brochure.
Brochure.
But we had come up with a brochure, and we made a really professional thing for all the the uses of for CB.
yeah, possible uses. For
Possible
CB radio.
uses.
We might have to cut that from.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I mean,
I'm loving it. You're gold. Go.
And one of the things that what made me pull it off, it was after 911, after the Twin Towers and thing, because
yeah.
one of the things in the brochure, you would form your own neighborhood terrorist group.
Yeah, because we did this. This thing
Yeah,
was
that
done
was
probably around
way back.
1990.
There was no.
When it was okay to make a joke.
Yeah,
Yes.
there were no and we had to pull it. That all kinds of things you could use
Yeah.
your CB for.
Oh my God.
It
we
was,
just had fun. If you own your own business, you just want to have some fun.
You get to make your own
Right?
decisions, and
That's right.
have a lot of fun.
Yeah. So it was we horse around. I've said several times, and we have fun here. Everybody here, I say people come here and they stay. They don't want to go. I've had people like to talk to a fun. Can I get a job there? Because we do have a lot of fun here, and I think if a lot of people seen some of the stuff that goes on down here, they might surround the place with people with straitjackets. But it's.
Friday lunches.
I couldn't believe when I was here before, and I was just getting to meet you guys, that you have never had to fire anybody.
Never have done it. I've been running the place by myself since 1984. never fired anybody. Nobody's ever been fired. Even at times, we'd build a lot of business up, and shelves would be stacked, and they weren't selling. They go through the trends of selling, and so when we wouldn't get rid of people, I'd just get pallets and start storing antennas on pallets in the aisles. So
and really what we're talking is more of a not laying anyone off.
Right,
I mean, do you have to fire someone because they're a troublemaker back there or something? Yeah, that's probably happened. But what we're talking about is Firestik has never laid people off when business got slow. We just kept making antennas. And we had times where business was so slow, we kept making antennas. We didn't let anyone go. We kept them working. And we had stacks and stacks. We were getting thousands of antennas sitting on our shelves. And at one point, we finally went, we're never going to get through this. We've got so many antennas, we're never going to get through it. And then 3 or 4 months goes by, and you look at the shelves, you go, what happened to it all? It's so the cycles go like this, up and down. But as far as employees, we keep people steady.
I can't even fathom in my head how you've never had to.
And lately, we've been running 4 months behind. We're taking orders, and we can't ship for 4 months. We got that big of a backlog of orders.
It's shrinking. We're down to 3.
3 months. Yeah, we're whittling down.
We might.
I think we almost got up to 5 months.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
we were about 5 months, and then now we've whittled it down somewhat. But yeah, and you quit asking, where are they going? What are they doing with these antennas? And
how many units a month do you guys think you move out of here total? Not each particular product line, because there's several, but I mean total.
Antennas and flags and.
He would know more of that. I don't look at that so much. He's kind of keeps track of inventory.
Well, then what do you do
stuff
here other than be the comedic relief?
I tell you, this is at Lillian passed away, partner in November, so I've been up to my eyes. I don't have much goof off time anymore. Mm-hmm. Because and it's when you get the end of the year, you got to close out the year, you got to start a new year. So and you state reports and corporation commission reports and taxes and all
they got it bad. We got people for that shit. What the hell?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I got accountants and whatnot, but I have to do all the work to tell the accountants what to put on the form, so I might as well do it myself. So it's it's been very busy. January.
I think I'd rather keep people guessing though when they say how many units per month or per year. I think about that when people ask. I go, I don't know if I want to say, because I might say a number, and you might go, oh, that's it, or wow, is that? How about we just kind of leave
because
certain
the
things
number
a
that I've been
secret,
telling
right?
people that you told me the last time I was here, they're all like, where the hell's it all going?
Yeah.
Who's buying that many damn CB antennas? It's like, I don't know.
And most of them are going to here in America. United States. We don't do that many antennas. We get the European guy, and we sell some. And we had really heydays, big business in Europe. I went to England in 1980. It was amazing. It was, you talk about criminal activity. Everybody was a criminal. CB took off. You can't believe it. It was illegal. The Queen was even losing sleep at night. But the CBs and everybody. I went over there, and there's a picture in the hall. I was going to secret meeting in pubs in the basement. It was underground stuff. And there's a picture in the hallway of Rolls Royce. I went over, I'm telling you, I sat on the back of that thing with a drill and drilled a hole in the fender at Rolls Royce and put a 5-foot antenna on it. And the guy was, I don't care. If I want to take it off, I just melt. It was aluminum, and aluminum's like this thick. Where we drilled in
Bumpers
there.
are made of metal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, he said, just get it, melt some aluminum, fill the hole, sand it off, paint it, it'd be good. But yeah, everybody was CB, and they were so pissed in the parliament over there. They were going out of their mind.
The people were going to be able to talk to each other.
That's right.
And we're not going to be able to control it or listen in.
Exactly.
Right. Yep.
That's what the whole thing was, and they literally said that was going to overthrow the government. The CBs or CBers. So when it got so out of control, they had to legalize it, and so they were going to punish America and everybody. They weren't going to do 27 megahertz. They want to have 800 or something with their CB. And then I got a hold of a guy called Belzano. He was a Motorola engineer in Florida, and we had a nice talk. And he was doing studies, RF studies, and he was at frequencies 800 and above, and he was using pig skulls, and he was putting the antennas and burning. He could burn brain cells with the antenna, getting too close to the head.
Okay.
But you get the parabolic effect, and it's got to do with the shape of the skull. And so the RF comes in, and then it focuses someplace in the head. It can burn cells, high power stuff. But he was, and so when the cell phones came out, and there was
I got a lot of brain damage, bro.
same frequencies, and they were. So I actually did a whole paper presented to the British Parliament about the dangers of high frequency, and I'm Czechomaniac, people running CBs and amplifiers. I said, 800 is one thing with you're running a quarter a watt of power, but when somebody hooks 800 megahertz to a 5,000 watt amplifier, you're talking about frying people. And our engineer who worked here, he wasn't in the Navy, and he worked with microwave, and in Alaska, they had these big antennas, and they were watching Russia. And that's when they discovered that one of the engineers were out front. They couldn't figure it. Animals were dying. They were finding dead animals out in front of the antennas. And then one of the engineers was out. He had a candy bar or
Chocolate
something
Hershey
in his
bar.
pocket. Yeah, and it melted.
I've heard the story, chocolate Hershey bar.
It melted, and they went, "Oh crap!" They had to fence a whole area out, and that's when they realized you could make Jiffy popcorn with a radio antenna microwave. So yeah, it's. So there's always, and we still hear that with 5G and all that stuff with radiation. And one of the big items in CES, they were talking Samsung, about this great remote control for a TV. The big feature, you never have to put batteries in it. Yeah, really cool. And you know why? Because everybody's house has got Wi-Fi in it, and the Wi-Fi crap going through the house is charging the phone, or charging the little battery inside the remote control.
It's charging your brain, too.
And I've seen all these smart meters they're putting on houses and whatnot, that they don't have to go put meter readers out.
Yeah.
RF. And so I've read articles where they told people to get a cookie sheet. If you got a smart meter on the side of your house, go inside the house on the wall and hang a damn cookie sheet up there to reflect the RF so it's not coming into the house. So yeah. So RF and
but the meter's off. So they have what they call a call home signal. Mm-hmm. So when the guy comes through your neighborhood, he's got a little antenna on his truck, and he's driving along. They're not sitting there transmitting all the time.
Right, it's just a one hit.
It's listening all the time.
Yep.
So the guy drives in, it gets a digital packet burst that goes, "Hey, call home." It goes, "Oh, hi, how you doing?" And then it hands off everything that it's stored. and like a 2 nanosecond data burst
Yeah, it's not
off
it's
to the
not
laptop
much,
that
but-
the guy driving through the neighborhood with, and then it goes, okay, see you next month.
Yeah.
Done. And now it's even more than that. That now they've come up with this low frequency thing. They've figured out how to induce the signal back into the electrical system, and then they can pull the data out. It's outside my realm of knowledge, so I
people
shouldn't
are-
really say anything. But the call home thing, that
The people in these industries are just it cracks me up. I mean, they're so inventive. It was like when we had the copy to PC thing. Everybody had their software protected, and these guys came up with the copy to PC, and you put a coprocessor in your computer, and it would break the code, and you copy the damn disk. And now it's going back and forth and back and forth. They make a new one. This guy makes a new one. He breaks it. New one. He breaks it. New one. Breaks it. He makes a
3-bit,
really
8-bit, 16-bit.
yeah, makes a
32-bit
really
phone.
good one. So they come up with the copy the PC board that you put in the computer and broke the Lotus. They gave up. They sent millions of dollars trying to make code to protect their software. And another one, the guy in
That's when they started. They finally gave in. They said, "Everyone, you should make a backup copy of your software."
Right.
You should do that.
There was a guy in California I talked to him, and he was a joker when they first came out with pushing all these automatic garage door openers. He built a transmitter. He said, "It's funny. I go at night up on the hill, and I wait at night, and then I push the button, and only like 5 or 6 frequencies that all the garage door openers." And he would track him, and he said, "I would look all down there, garage doors open all over the place." So he was getting his kicks open and garage doors before they come up with all these
That's what hackers used to be.
CTSO
That's what a
codes.
hacker was.
Yeah,
Back in the day,
that was
Not some kid sitting in mom's basement behind his laptop.
I've had guys. One of the guys had a Volkswagen. It was a CB Volkswagen, and he would had big amps and stuff and antennas on it. And he would go at night. He would go down to the baseball field, and he would park it on back up to home plate with his Volkswagen, and put jumper cables on his bumper and hook them to the fence.
You got the big metal fence that wraps
and
around.
he would push the SWR. He would adjust it by pushing the car back and forth till he get it the right place, and use the whole backstop as a reflector. Well, it works really good. Other guys who live on the lakes carry a cable out and throw it out in the water, a big copper cable, and use the water as a ground plane.
Well, the water, I've never understood that. So I'm going to put this out there. Having a chain attached to your bumper and having a cable attached to your bumper and throwing it in the water does not increase your vehicle's conductivity to the water. The water doesn't care if there's a wire going to it or not. The density of the water simply acts as a mirror because the RF can't penetrate it. And it's molecularly smooth, the RF, so it bounces.
Yeah,
Like a
guys
mirror.
would do it in fishing
So to bond
boats.
yourself to the
Yeah,
water
but
doesn't
is
do
there a
any
difference
good.
between the boat is sitting on the water versus the car's parked way over here and you run a wire into
The
it?
only thing is the difference in height above the water plane.
So we used to get a lot of guys
The water table is uniformly flat-ish,
Yeah.
relatively thinking. So your height above that water table, either it be right at the edge of the water or up in the parking lot, is going to totally affect how the RF hits the water and takes off. And what's the moisture density in the soil before it gets to the water table?
Yeah. Well, we see differences like with that indoor base antenna that we make. And people were having problems because they were mounting it up in
Indoor
second
what?
story. The indoor base antenna. It's a 5-foot antenna with 4 radials. It can be mounted in an apartment, a house.
The little gold base thing.
No, the thing's 5 foot tall.
Well, we're going to have to get into the products that they produce over here pretty quick.
But anyway, that thing, people were having problems, whether it was on ground level. It was on ground level, it's fine. You start putting in attics and second stories, they were having problems getting it tuned. So we started including some extra tuning screws. I think we add a 1.5 inch and a 2.5 inch, and that's what we tell these people, you're going to have to make some modifications that the current tuning screw can't handle.
And Zane knows all about that because we make that 7-foot antennas, and he wants how many board turns wire? 20,
no,
30?
It's way wider than that.
Yeah, yeah.
So the big rig Firestik makes us a custom antenna that's more or less designed specifically for one truck. And
Crapscadia?
yeah, the Freightliner Crapscadia, the older one. And I think it's like 10 extra turns. Right, and when I walked in, you were talking about this. So as the trucks get less and less counterpoise, i.e. ground, you have to make up for it with surface area on the antenna.
Right.
And your standard KW7 on that truck, just it'll be resonant at about 10 meters, high 28, 29 meg. You have to add the extra winding to get it
To
resonant
compress
at
it.
11.
And we run into that. We make a lot of custom antennas just to bail people out of the problem. We don't know why. When you build an antenna, you kind of do an average of everything you know. We've changed the antennas maybe 2 or 3 times in the probably the last 30 years because vehicles are changing. Metal's getting thinner. They have the big thick metal
Dude.
Yeah, so you run into problems. So we compensate,
Or
but
the
every once
vehicles are
in a
going
while.
from not being welded together, they're glued together.
Sure.
So there's no, the
Right.
metal bonding that would happen between the side posts and stuff, that's not there anymore. It's all held together with glue.
Yeah, but we still run into rare instances that we have a problem, and the problem they didn't even want solved. So they had seismographic pods, the little pods. They anchor all over the place, and it's got a little wire antenna on it. And they drill a hole and they put explosives down, boom, boom, and all these seismic pods pick up the bounce back, of the sound wave, and draws, and then the antennas would transmit that information back to the shore where they had a shed, and it would literally draw a picture of faults underground where there'd be oil, and so they could find oil. And so their problem they would be out in the water and trying to pull these pods out of the rough water, and they got the little damn wire antennas and they can't pick them up. So they wanted something bigger. So we've designed like 170 megahertz fiberglass antenna and sent them out to them. And it wasn't very long after that they said, we want this exclusive. We don't want anybody to know about that.
Slow and low.
you
So you get around the water molecules, slow and low.
You developed that for us. And it allowed them to get it out of the water. That was the problem. But they found that using our antenna, they could use half as many pods and gain twice as much information per every detonation that they did. So, but the antennas they were using, it wasn't that high tech. It was just building a nice 170 meg antenna but it really worked. It really worked well. And then, and so that kind of went away when all the oil crap went away. But more recently, we had a customer who does Jeeps, and he wanted an AM/FM antenna. They were like rugged, so they wanted a rugged antenna. So I said, okay, I'll work on that. So I worked on it. I came up maybe 4 or 5 different designs, and AM/FM is kind of you're going from 550 kilohertz to 108 megahertz. It's pretty broad banded.
Two
so,
bands.
And luckily it's only received. But so we made them and sent out one of them to him or a couple of them. He tested them, and he's a remote part of Pennsylvania, and he said that antenna, he was getting twice as many channels receiving on that antenna than stock Jeep antenna on the Jeep. So
his testing method was just run the scan on the radio, see how many channels it stopped, and he got twice as many.
So how many we made for him now?
As soon as he got that figured out, he reported his results to his the guy buys them from him, and now he buys 1,000 to 2,000 pieces at a time.
Yeah, and
Just
and
from us just playing around, and again, seemingly making a product that you're spending time R&D, and you're really just taking care of a customer. But we didn't know it was going to go anywhere. But next thing you know, you're getting 1,000 and 2,000 piece orders.
Yeah, I think
Wow.
I know he's done over 10,000 of those things since we started making them. So
He made it didn't even adapt to the Jeep. So he said, "Oh, don't worry about that. I'll make the adapter. If you can make the antenna, I'll make the adapter."
Sounds like the shit we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, he made a nice little stainless steel piece and went from 5/16
It's probably a
to
millimeter,
3/8 24 or whatever, and he sells the crap out of them. But he's also problem solver, and he makes all kinds of crap for Jeeps, little wiring harnesses for this and that, and he's now bought a printer, one of those, what the hell they
3D
call
printer.
it?
Oh, 3D printer.
And he's printing something for the cup holder that holds a radio. I don't know.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah.
I know exactly who you're talking about. He's got a really booming business, especially on eBay. You can literally send him, okay, I've got this kind of handheld walkie-talkie for Bofang, right? So he makes this clip that you can take your Bofang, literally push into it, and just slide the radio down, and it mounts right on your dash. It attaches into your cup holder. Doesn't affect the cup holder's function. So you can jump in your Jeep, push, click, and then also have for your 2-meter radio, your 70-centimeter radio, your CB radio, have 3 or 4 different spots all the way around this thing to hang your mic on it. So then when you're done four-wheeling and talking on your radio and shit, you put all your mics away and put this thing in the, you're done. There's you don't have shit screwed in your dash. You don't have nothing mounted to nothing.
That's back east, and they got into.
He's got them all over the world.
They got into
Just
the
printing them like
GMRS, GMRS. That's all I'm hearing. GMRS, and it's the same mentality. Once somebody comes out, and now they're old. And I try to explain to the guys, it's FM, it's line of sight, and most of it's repeater stuff, and you can't just use somebody's repeater. You got to join the club, or somebody's paying for that repeater.
Kick in your.
But it's just the lemmings going off the cliff. One or two goes, and they all follow off the edges. So, and GMRS, you learn about FM when all the CB is going to get bombed by FRS. Family radio service. What a joke that was. I had some of those antennas, radios, and gave them to the grandkids. They're worthless. Up to 3 or 5 miles. And I say, yeah, if you're standing on Lake Michigan and it's frozen, you can see the guy 3 miles out. You can probably talk to him on them. And I kind of thought the MERS was going to be better. It's 2 watts versus a quarter a watt, but I have some FRS radios made by Midland that are
One of a kind, right?
One of a kind. Blew up the whole market. FCC didn't catch them. Because FRS, the antenna is supposed to be attached permanently to the radio.
Can't change it.
Can't change it. And Midland came out with these FRS radios, and the FCC type accepted the whole thing, let it come through, and it just like the gold dot.
Yeah.
The crap hit the fan because you can screw the antenna off. So I have a couple of those Midland FRS. You can change the antenna. So it's always stuff going on, and they work a lot better if you put an external antenna. We do a lot.
Really?
Yeah, we do a lot of stuff. I don't know if you know Dakota Alert. Dakota Alert uses MERS.
I mean, you know that my number one selling antenna is that KW7, the special one.
Well, see, you're different. We have people who want us to make them something custom, and then you never hear from them again. We know that if you want something custom, you're going to order 10 and 20 and 50, and next thing you know, we've made you several hundred of them.
I think we're in the thousands.
And we might be
Yeah.
on some of them.
I got 3 antennas sitting in my office that made for a guy for railroad frequencies. Still, they're sitting there. We just can't.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are working on at least one project for me right now, and then there's probably been 25 different antennas that I've had you custom build for me.
Yeah, because
And there's like 4 or 5 that have stuck and that I regularly order, right? You're not going to get them anywhere else. You build them for me.
yeah.
Sure.
And there's some that went nowhere.
Right.
But whatever.
You try, yeah.
Try it
We
out.
always-
And there's also been times where I've told you I ain't got time to mess with it right now.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, sometimes I ask for a bit much, but it's all in the betterment of radio.
And
right?
make me one that'll hold 5 kW. I'll sell the living shit out of it.
5 kW, is that legal?
No, hell no. I commit felonies for breakfast, so I'm not too overly worried about it. No, what I'm getting at is it.
I don't know how many times we get antennas. Of course, you see the one here that got hit by lightning.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That
Well, we're
was
going to say lightning, and not that it was on a shootout truck or
yeah,
somebody.
it wasn't. That was,
That they were going to put
this
30
was here.
kW on it or
This
something.
was here in Phoenix. A young guy. He was working, going to school,
Beautiful.
and he had the antenna on his truck, and he had he would pull up to the apartment or little house he was renting, and he had no money, so he had to plug his battery charger into the wall every night. So if he wanted his truck to start in the morning, so in this one particular night, he said, "Well, I'm going to charge." He had a sand rail. So he put a jumper cable. He hooked the battery charger to his truck, put jumper cables on the battery, and hooked them onto the sand rail. He think I'll charge them both at the same time. Monsoon season, lightning hit that antenna, and it did all kinds of damage. It did this to the antenna, but it went and blew the ignition switch right out of his sand rail. The went into his house, and on the other side of the wall was his stereo, his TV. It blew all that stuff out. But I seen worse than this. This, it turns to dust. I mean, the copper wire literally turns to powder. And I seen another one. I wish I could find it, and it did the whole thing. And you could see the spiral wraps, and it was this dust. The wire, the copper, had just literally turned to dust. Another guy had in Georgia had it on his truck, and he got hit by lightning. They had to get a tow truck to get his truck off the concrete. Steel belted radials melted all 4 tires to the ground. I'm gonna tell you, that stuff is scary. That lightning, that's scarier than the 20,000 watt linear.
What we get is the lightning didn't directly hit the station, but it hit close enough to actually induce enough current to blow everything apart.
It's amazing.
Like the lightning will smack down in the guy's backyard, and it will wipe out everything. Usually the computer that's attached to the radio itself no longer receives or transmits. The amp's wiped out. It's not a direct hit. It's still, 100 feet away, 75 feet away.
But yeah, you
But
see
there's
that
so much
lightning. I've
energy
seen
released.
that. It's on the ground. It hits, but it's all these little fingers. We've had here in Arizona one time
You ever seen glasses
Killed-
from lightning?
20 some elk in a herd all killed. One lightning hit, boom, killed them.
You ever seen glasses made from lightning strike?
Glass.
Glass, from the heat.
Yeah, it'll melt. Like if it hits a bed of sand, it will melt. Looks like an icicle kind of
Wow.
down into the sand because it superheats the ground.
Had a
It's the
guy.
same phenomenon happens when power wires fall off poles and short out.
Yeah.
I got
Power
a,
guys will go dig those up and put them up on their mantles.
I-
and shit.
That's a
I
nice
have-
Big old
souvenir.
piece of glass.
I have
Yeah.
experience with knocking power lines out, but the guy PIR said from Penske was down here, and he said that lightning hit down there, and he said the concrete like eight inches thick, and he said it blew out a 3-foot piece of concrete out of the ground.
I thought I was going to turn myself into a little mini lightning bolt the other day when we were driving along with the tram system you guys have here.
Oh,
Your 14.5 wire that's sitting up there, 14,500 volts.
We're
Yeah, I've got a fairly large antenna.
Washington?
You got too long an
Yeah,
antenna?
so I'm going, exactly how tall am I? Am I what am I, 13, 12? How many feet am I?
I think the
my 13.
Right, yeah, okay.
I used to,
I
used to hear around here the guys with the 102-inch whips pulling in the gas stations, taking all the fluorescent lights out.
Right. Yep.
That was good.
The little Suburban I got back there's got a 7 or 8 foot long antenna on it, on the back of it. It's not a quick disconnect, but when I was down here last time, I was in the 3500 Chevy, and that's got a
It was up high too.
It's a big antenna. So we were coming down off one of these off ramps. I'm like, why does it keep saying low overhead power lines? And I seen that the height clearance underneath this bridge for the tram system was only like 10 or 11 feet.
Yeah, and
I'm like,
he
no.
jumps up
I
in,
put
over
I
a
put
curb.
I put the truck in 4-wheel drive. I drive up on this curb into the center islands. And he's like, what are we doing? I'm like, nope.
He's back there with a wrench taking the antenna off.
Really?
No, we're not
I
doing
was like,
this.
oh, I forgot all about that.
You think about back in the day when CD was going hell bent for election. All these companies were out there building star dusters and all that antenna, and then a couple dumbasses walking around their backyard with a mast or the antenna and stick them in the power poles and got killed. And I don't think it was a half a dozen idiots that got killed, and they changed all the rules on CB base antennas, put all those people out of business because you had a 40,000 volt. You had to be able to stick your antenna in 40,000. That's why Antron and Shakespeare and all these big sticks. They're capacity coupled things that you can stick in the power lines, and that put the end to Stardust or all these big beam antennas, and you can get it now, but I think it's like everything else. It's a CB radio until you clip the wire, and it's 40 or 400 channels or whatnot. So I think they advertise those base antennas at amateur radio. It was only CB antennas.
Fiber, Kevlar based polymer.
Yeah, that's it.
Freaking rod that is indestructible.
We're going to be bringing back our liquid and powder series.
We had it all ready to go, but
on any of that shit?
you can't get chips. You can't get chips, so that's a problem. Can't get.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
You need to figure that out.
Supply, though, I mean, have you found have you had a really difficult time getting supply here lately with everything that's going on in the world?
Yeah, like your mag wire, the tips, the fiberglass
It's
rods,
been,
rubber boots. What
it's-
have you got going on there?
It's been spotty. And as soon as you get one worked out, you have a little problem with another one. I'm trying to expand our suppliers. In a lot of cases, you might have one key supplier for fiberglass or one key supplier for machine parts. And you learn real quick when all of a sudden they go, whoa, we don't have our materials, we can't make your stuff on time. It's like, I need to get some backups going on. But yeah, there's been a little bit here and there. The good thing is with us being so backed up, 3-4 months back up, if all of a sudden they say, we can't make any more KW3 antennas or FS3 antennas, and I say, we pull up some papers and some sales reports or what's on order, and we go, if else, we can make Firefly antennas. So we go through all our orders and say, let's go. Let's start making Firefly antennas as fast as we
Just
can.
shift over.
And then we run out of that stuff because we're not ready for that pace. And so you jump over to something else. So we've been doing a lot of shifting gears. So again, not having to get rid of employees because we can't make stuff, keep people working, just shift them around to different things. Doing things like like Zane talks about, like putting our people to work, pulling fiberglass out of bases. You take that time of old parts that's collected and how can we break it down to its components, maybe run some stuff over to a steel or metal shop and cash in on some of that. So we're keeping people busy, but we have had to move around. And so there's been some shortages in certain times. Some people
How
say,
many feet of wire do you go through a month here, you think?
Ooh, wow.
Copper
I was
wire.
ready for that
I
one.
thought it was we were using like over like 30,000 pounds, or
We're going through. Yeah, I mean, when I'm writing orders, I'm ordering about 1,500 pounds per order, and that's.
So you buy by the pound, not by the foot.
Yeah, that's why when you say foot,
Okay.
I've never really calculated that. Yeah, so we might go through that in a month. So now all of a sudden you're looking about
pounds? So I'm sure it comes on rolls. How many pounds
Yeah,
is
you
one
could.
roll?
90 pounds.
90 pounds on there.
Okay, how many feet do you think is on each roll?
We don't know. We could
Don't
probably
know.
figure it
Don't
out.
know.
Never.
Probably because of the way we do it. The way
Right.
we inventory it is by weight. And
It's
so
because
that's
the way you're
it's a good
buying it is
question.
by weight. See, we buy things by foot. I got wire that I pay $100 a foot for. A
Right.
foot. So, like the wire we were looking up at Mr. S's house last night. That
I knew a
100 kVA
girl
wire, that's
like that.
$60 a foot wire.
I knew a girl
So-
that was about $100 a foot.
Man, thank God she was only 2'1", huh? No,
I'm kind of
how
curious
many pieces
now.
of fiberglass do you guys go through a month here, you think?
So now
You
you're
buy
talking.
it by stock length and then you cut it all, right? Well, we're going to get into that here in a minute,
That's
right?
buying pieces. Yeah, you start buying. Might buy 20,000 pieces of fiberglass, and then all these different lengths.
Well, they're all
2
different
foot
sizes,
through
too.
9
Sure.
foot.
FS
so you're,
is
for
different
the safety
than
flag line.
KWs. Yeah.
Flex.
And then we
You got
load up
different
on
widths. Yeah.
shrink tubing a million feet or
That
so.
was going to be
like-
my next. How many feet of shrink tubing do you guys think you go through a month over here?
The purchase, the number on the purchase is usually about 850,000 feet.
A month.
No.
Oh.
That's we usually try to make that last 10, 11 months
winter.
or something like that.
We
yeah,
only bring shrink tubing because you can't transport that stuff.
in the summer.
Right.
So you got to
Well,
have.
you
ship
can do
together.
it in the north where it's not. We're not 2 inches from the devil's butthole,
We-
like we are here, where it's 119 degrees in the shade,
Yeah.
and inside it's 190 degrees in the
We-
building.
Well, I actually now you reminded me. I need to get busy on if I'm going to place another order. I need to actually look at the numbers now. We place that big order that sometimes might even approach 1,000,000 feet, but I need to pay attention because sometimes your numbers get a little out of whack.
So your
People
shrink
start buying
room
a bunch.
is environmentally controlled then,
Yes.
because of where your factory.
Yeah, and there's been times when we get caught and we have to bring shrink tubing in reefer trucks.
Yeah. Yeah. If business is and
cost
we
it.
I would have
cost-
never even. It makes perfect sense now that it's been said out loud. I wouldn't even have thought of that.
it happened this year. We've been so busy that next thing you know we're running out of some key stuff, and it's June. Can't bring that in a truck, so you got to pay the extra money, put it on a refrigerated truck.
How many rubber booties do you think you guys have? 1, go through a month. 2, go through in a year. And 3, if you were really spitballing, how many do you think you've gone through since the company's been in business making it?
I know there was one point that we said over
Million.
6 million sold.
No,
That
there's
was a
more than
long
that.
time
Yeah,
ago.
I know. Yeah, it's. I would say on the website. I
That's right,
it's
we
been-
do update it
I
on
thought
the
it was
website every-
6 or 8 million. I don't know. It's
It might be up around 8, maybe 8 million.
yeah.
It's kind of cool.
But that's just the antennas. Is that where you're counting flags? And of
No.
course, your newer products, the LED shit, which I think is friggin' awesome, by the way.
No, that's
Safety
just
flags
antenna.
is cool. That was
I
kind
only
of-
watch antenna. I used to watch all that.
I'm
stuff
trying really
closer.
hard to find out how many pieces they make a month, and they are skirting around that. So, because I'm going to go back and post and be with a calculator and be like,
Well, we made
like I said,
they are
man.
so good at
You know,
diverting.
but Firestik
It's happening.
Firestik has a big name. If I say a number that's too small, then the
I've
competitors
always
start
said-
going, oh, wait a minute.
Our company name, the company name and reputation is bigger than the company.
Yeah.
It's always been that way.
When you think about a fiberglass top-loaded whip, the first thing that comes to your mind is Firestik.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. But that I like that number, though.
We
that we've
had
sold
a-
millions.
Fine.
Millions of
How many base pieces, the threaded base pieces, have you purchased?
Well, you would know by the flag uses the same one the antenna does. So
Yeah.
this is a Firestik antenna without wire. No wire. And if you got anybody pissing and moaning about too much static, here we go. Here's the answer.
I'll get rid of
That will quiet your radio down like nothing
Night
else.
and day. Yeah.
It's a wireless antenna.
There's a lot of those riding around on Harleys, from what I was just told, with string attached to them.
Oh yeah.
Freaking
Well,
awesome.
we don't do so much anymore. That was a real thing. The string wound fiberglass antennas.
Oh, but you do no ground plane antennas.
Yep.
You make a fantastic 2-meter antenna.
Yeah. That's
Oh, by the way, I want to buy one of those. I'm here to get one
that.
of them.
That was a series that series of antennas we make, and that
How many watts is it rated for?
140, 140 to 170. Man,
Does it handle full legal limit?
output power. What do we got that thing?
yeah, legal limit.
If it's
Do
1,500
you know what
watts.
that is?
No.
Does
1,500
anybody in
watts.
the
I've got
room?
one device that does it at my house every time I.
Anybody
think
know
we got
what
that
this
thing
is?
listed.
It is
4.
1,500 watts. Legal limit.
I think it's 400 as well.
400 on that. Yeah.
Give it to me. Yeah. The 2-meter plus, the 4-foot 5/8 wave omnidirectional amateur antenna. For 144 megahertz through 148 megahertz, 2-meter band. 800 watts PEP. I see another YouTube video coming. I really do. I'll do a YouTube video about it.
We'll burn it up.
Yeah,
All of the tunable
we'll give
tip
you.
antennas.
That's how you find out what an antenna's rated. You go, what's this
Crank it
antenna
up till it
rated
blows
at?
up, yeah.
You burn it.
Well, nowadays we crank it up with a FLIR and watch it and see where it's going to heat,
Yeah.
which will be really cool because you'll be able to see all the coilings heat in the center and so on, and blah, blah, blah. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm serious.
All your tunable tip antennas handle a lot more power.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
that's because of the metal mass at
the
the
hit-
end.
Heat sink.
heat,
Yeah.
heat sink up there. Yeah.
Which is, I don't think that was really what it's designed for. That was just a bonus.
You know,
had to
I-
have something that the screw could thread into. So
I'm
now
gonna pull-
you got
I
this
had
big
to
mass
pull-
of metal, and the
pull the
bandwidth
patent.
went crazy.
I need to pull the patent on that when we patented it, and I doubt if that mentioned it anything at all to do with the heat sink on that.
That's It was an afterthought.
I never thought it was. I think in the patent you would see just a method for easy tuning of an antenna. That's pretty much what
It was more of a numbers thing.
Well-
Like we should have been using it as a marketing thing to talk about that, but instead you just posted the numbers, the actual power handling. It was more like a tech person does things.
The patent on that
Technical,
thing-
But you should have been turned that into a big marketing thing.
When we patented that antenna, that's what it was more for, anyways. Yeah, patent. We could put look at all the advertisement. Patent. Patent antenna. Yeah, it was so great it's patented. We used it. That was the really the value. The value of the patent is a lot of times just the marketing. Not so much the performance or what the thing does, but people, it's patented. It's
Well, it used to mean something.
And as
when
a
we
matter of
enforced
fact,
the patents.
I could show you a wad of paper
We have
how
to.
I sued.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like if they decided they were going to make them over there,
I sued.
who are you going to go sue?
I sued many
Really?
companies. I got a whole file in there. I went after some big name companies and filed a patent lawsuit and shut them all down. And one of them ended up being our big distributor. And he told me years later he never sold Firestik. And then he got caught with tuning screw and tunable tip antenna, infringed on our patent, and so I had the patent attorney. They went off a bunch of people, and he called me. He panicked. I'll throw all my money. I don't want to go to court. I don't want to do the. And it was smart him to do it. It shut everybody down. But then he started. I'll start buying your antenna. And so he did. And then a couple of years later, he goes, "What the hell was the matter with me? I should have been selling your damn antennas for 10 years. He said, "I've lost my ass because I didn't have your antennas." He said, "I didn't realize until I start selling your antennas how much other stuff it drags." They call me, if they call me, I don't have antennas, they go to somebody else and buy antennas and radios and accessories and coax and everything. He said was losing, he was amazing. And many of distributors, it was the number one top product they had for profit item, profit percentage.
I still got customers that tell me that.
Yeah.
They go, "Well, we carry your stuff, not necessarily just because we want to, but because we have to."
Have to, yeah.
You hear that a lot. We have to carry your stuff. It's not even an option to pull your stuff out of line. We've got customers who are also our competitors. Customers who have bought our competing lines. Well, you would think the first thing they're going to do is you're going to get rid of us. We're their competitor. They don't, because they know if they get rid of us, their customers call, they're asking for Firestik, and if they don't have it, then they're not going to sell their CB radios and accessories, and just like you said, all your items. So.
There's a lot of things that you make too that, like studs, a lot of people don't realize, but Firestik studs are, I'm going to say, probably number one in the market. Every distributor has them. CB shops have them. They don't even know they have them.
Yeah.
I watched you
I
guys
was shocked.
press them here. Just
I was absolutely shocked after coming here last time and seeing what you guys had going on. I'm like, I've been using those and installing those most of my adult life, and I had no clue they were made here. No clue. And then everything else is like, oh well, we've got this other one. It's cheap as shit, but
Maybe the all that power from your radios and amplifiers has got your brain scrambled or something.
the RF has got a lobed tridal effect where it'll ride around the outside of my skull and then fry my brain cells on the backside of my eyelids, from too much
you
RF.
need aluminum foil
What
hat.
we just learned, but only at 800 megahertz.
But
So.
all your stainless mounts, you're probably, from what I've seen, the leader in stainless steel mirror mounts. Right, you have hood mounts and
Good hood mounts.
I mean, quality stuff. All your mounts are quality. You have the widgets, the adjustable mounts, and those are get out of jail free card on some
The
installations.
widget, that was funny.
We carry some of that stuff, some of those mounts, and we probably shouldn't, from a company perspective financially. Some of these brackets that that we have, to make it affordable, we have to buy a supply that actually might last us 7 years.
And then store it, maintain it.
Yeah, we're not making what we should on it, but I don't know. We've never been one to chase down, $40, $50 for a mount like some of these companies do. We try to keep it affordable. We're dealing with truck drivers and people that like to play with their toys, and
we look at the whole company. If you're a bean counter, and you go on the computer and you look at it, every item, oh, shit can it. We don't. We just look at the whole business. You look at the bottom line of the whole business, and the antennas that cover some of the products you lose money on. So in a lot of these connectors, and they're convenience items. We do that not because we're going to make any money on them, but when somebody calls and he needs a barrel connector or needs a L connector or something, we have it for them.
So instead of having 80% of what they need, you go, oh, we got it all.
Yeah.
I had never seen it before, but you guys make a PL259 that will accept 2 RG59 coaxes.
Oh yeah.
Little co-phase it.
Yes. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
one of
it's a
our
neat little piece.
Mad designs. Some of that stuff when I
Don't
was doing-
sell a lot of them, but it doesn't matter. It makes a lot of people happy. Solves the problem.
Yeah, it's better than taking a PL 259 with no insert and jamming two pieces of coax in that into a thing.
And
I
then
know
a
you
shitty
do
little
it.
piece of heat shrink to hold it all together.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah. It's
But
a
it's molded, it's kind of square. You can
Yeah.
put a wrench on it when
Yeah.
you're done.
Yeah.
There's a little hole in it so that you can weep the
yeah,
solder
solder
into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really well thought out. You guys have a lot of products like that. That's why we carry so much of it.
Yeah.
That's because I'm a hardcore Seabayer.
Got down.
He's
Roger, right
thinking
on.
I never was right, and I don't use in my up in my place.
He just
in the
likes to
mountain-
cause traffic jams and skip.
Yeah,
It's just that.
up in the mountains at my house, I'm gonna set that up, and I got all that stuff at CB base and a
Nice.
2-meter radio, and I got a marine radio. And
It was
a
around. I was a
GMRS
kid.
radio.
I was a
yeah.
kid growing up here, and there was always a base radio in the house.
Isn't that
We had
picture
fun
of
with
Alex
that.
on the board right here? Little Alex talking on the CB microphone.
Yeah, one of those pictures right around there.
That's his.
And
There's
then,
a very cute little blonde girl sitting
yeah.
there talking into.
yeah,
Looks
that's
like
his.
a Turner microphone.
Yeah, that's his
think that's
his
a Cobra.
daughter. I was teaching her use a CB.
87, 97?
Yeah, 97. Probably she was
97.
born in 95, so
Yeah.
she was pretty small. So
So what's your guys' relationship with the jet-powered drag trucks and stuff?
It's not really there anymore. Some of these guys have some of them passed away already, but that was just at a trade show I went to. It was I was pushing these safety flags,
Yeah.
and this guy who just is friends with the jet truck guy, Les Shockley, he's telling me about this jet truck and how he knows the guy, and they're friends growing up. And I don't know if it was just because I was spending time talking with them. Some of these shows are slow, and so, yeah, let's talk to some people. I don't want to stand here by myself. So we talked a long time. He said, I could probably get you a ride on that thing. I was like, well, that's cool. I don't know if I believed him at the time. I was like, oh, okay, that'd be cool.
Sure.
love
You're
to-
like, yeah, I'll do that. Sure.
I think
it's gonna
he,
happen.
a year later, he shows up at my booth again. He's like, yeah, I can get you a ride on that. And I'm like, yeah, that'd be kind of cool. But I'm also thinking, if I'm getting a ride on that thing, they're going to want a bunch of money out of me, sponsorship money and all that. And
Yeah.
so I kind of just never really took it seriously. But then one year I was back in Pennsylvania, and he calls me up. He says, Les is going to be in Ohio at the Cleveland Air Show. And I'm not that far away from it. He said, he can get you a ride in it. Now it's starting to sound real. So I went over with Anna, and we drove over to the air show and met up with Les. I've never spoke to the guy. Met him, and he just laid it all out. And we got to go in the back where everyone else is up in the stands. You know, you're getting to drive out on the airstrip. That's
Right.
cool. And then he's got a whole suite. It's not often a vehicle like that has a passenger seat.
Right.
Yeah, right. No,
Right.
Any kind of race car has one seat for the
Right.
driver. That's it.
Right.
But he put me in a full zip-up fire suit, fire booties, helmet. You guys probably know the name of that system. That keeps your
Hans
head
device.
straight. Yeah, I got those chains hanging here. Buckled me in. You're sitting like this because you got roll bars here and roll bars there, and it was a race that I got to do against a small little, like a World War II plane. And the World War II plane flies over you, and as soon as he sees them, and he guns it. You know, the jet engines are in the back. So the whole front of this Peterbilt is just all air, and you just feel that air rush up. And you're like, there's no way you're going to catch that jet, because he's probably doing 160, 170 miles an hour.
Smoking.
And then there's that point where that thing gets going 250, 300, 350, and now you see that jet going, just blow right past.
And the safety flag held on.
yeah,
Yeah. I think we have the
that's
sample.
it's it's on the wall there. It's got
342 mile an hour safety flag.
got some burn marks on it.
Tested by that scientist.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing that
Scientifically certified.
had 2 jet engines on it. It had 2.
That's
engine,
the 56 Chevy that has 2. The one I was on was the Peterbilt.
Yeah, all
That
that.
had
Yeah,
3.
Yeah, that one's a F4 Phantom engines
Yeah,
on
this
that
one was
thing.
stacked up like two, like this, like a little triangle.
Yep.
And even before they do the race, he's got those afterburners just blowing fire and smoke. So even before the race, he's just driving around in circles on the airstrip. You can't even see sometimes. I don't even know how he can know what he's doing because we're driving into the smoke. It's just everywhere.
A lot of kerosene, a lot of diesel.
Yeah. Oh, it was all diesel.
Yeah.
And I got to see him pumping diesel into that thing when we were done. And you're going, wow.
You know how they get all the smoke, right?
That was like 500
They just don't like the
gallons
afterburner.
times whatever it cost. And
They just blow, it's raw fuel. They just don't like the afterburner.
we went to a place right after that. They had another show to do. I think it was called Drag Strip 42 in Cleveland. And that's just what a great bunch of people, man, families, and everyone's there to see people race and see the jet truck. And he backed that jet truck. They always got that big backboard behind at the back of the strip, and he kind of firing up those afterburners, and the crowd's going nuts, and that thing just catches on fire. He burned that backboard, and I think that's all just a part of it.
Right.
They don't mind it, but
No.
that thing's just burning, and while he's pulling up to the line, you're getting ready to go, and you're looking in the back, and there's this fire in the background, and then he just hits it and just takes off.
The
How many G
baddest,
acceleration was that? Like 4 Gs?
I never asked what the G's was. You can feel it. Is all I can tell you. It puts you back in your seat. And
I'm gonna have to go look all that up.
I think the baddest.
Ugh. So we sat there and we kept talking for about another 30, 40 minutes or so. And we weren't covering anything that had anything to do with the business or why you guys are all tuning in. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump ahead a little bit, and we're going to go check out the factory floor and go look at some of the products they make, and I'm going to show you how they make the antennas. Away we go.
You transmit and the shit flies out the end.
Flies out the end.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, that's the V-bar, and it just mounted on top of the
you know what?
stud.
That's what you need is an exhaust
And,
pipe.
two
A little
antennas.
exhaust pipe.
I have seen these, and I have thrown a lot of these away because we didn't know what they were.
Yeah,
That's a V-bar.
that's the V-bar, the famous Pell V-bar. I used to use it. I had a Grand Prix with the dual 3-footers on that thing. Yeah.
So tell us the story of this here.
So, anyways, I was just in the back. They were making flags, and they had a whole bunch of flags, and it looked so pretty. Blue ones, and green ones, and red ones, and whatnot. And so I went, hey, I could make a flag out of that. So, I found a sole piece of aluminum. The only problem I had, I couldn't use hex nuts on the back because you couldn't put it together. So I had to order a bunch of stainless steel cap screws to keep it nice and tight. And then this was, I used white electrical tape and went to Hobby Lobby and got a little punch and punched out the
I was going to ask you if you got custom heat shrink for this or what the deal was.
Yeah, no, it's
already had
we
some
did
supply
some
of that, yeah.
we did some with printing, but the printing was no good. So it was better to just stick.
It's hard to print
Yeah.
a white ink on a dark blue surface, so they just look kind of.
Tell us the story behind the marker light here that you guys got going on.
So
Just-
we got.
Go ahead, you're on.
I was going to say, so people who wanted to go riding in the dunes, if you wanted to, they said you can't ride at night without having a lighted safety flag. It has to be a light above the flag. And there were products that were coming out. They were all running wire down the length of it. And if anyone would damage it, they would lose the whole stick. So we said, let's just come up with a little module that if they do whack it into something or ruin it, you don't lose your entire stick. But just give them that capability to be able to ride at night.
That came way off to this. I hunted in really remote places in Arizona, so I thought sometimes I would come out and it's dark down in the Galero Mountains, and I had there's drainage. I have no idea where the hell my vehicle's at. I can't see it. And if you take the wrong drainage, you're lost. So I made this up bought a bunch of parts in a hobby box, and put a photo eye on it, and so I would put it on the dashboard on my truck or set it up on the roof, and then I go hunting. And then when I get done hunting, I would come out, I'd just get up on the ridge, and I could see my strobe. It would start flashing when it got dark. And I make sure to find the right place to get to my vehicle. I don't think there's a battery in it, so it's not going to go.
That is a Radio Shack never been changed product box from 19.
Yeah.
I'm familiar. I've bent many things in these when I was a kid.
No, there is
How
a
many
battery in
inventors
there.
were?
Fun.
The inventor.
So
Yeah.
when did you guys start moving into this field here? The same thing when you started it this year?
Well, the wrapped ones you're seeing, that's done by customers of ours.
Okay.
We haven't gotten the total wraps.
We don't want to do it.
We don't want to. Yeah, there's some
The
warranty
hiccups
issues.
that guy has had,
Oh, yeah.
like
Yes.
getting where he is. I do a lot of business with him too, and
But what's become a big deal for us is how many of these whips those guys are buying.
yes,
Right.
And we're selling thousands of these things every year. I got one customer that buys about 1,500 whips every month. And he's doing the wraps and selling the finished product. And we get to stick with what we do best, which is making these antennas, making rods.
Good quality fiberglass.
Good quality fiberglass. They love our stuff. So
But the other cool thing about it is it's keeping business here. This isn't being outsourced overseas.
yep.
Right. And those whips, he's made a really great name for himself, and they're built right here outside of Phoenix. So
Yep.
it's keeping
This
the money in the local
some
economy.
this artwork had changed. This was one antenna specialist. This is not the original antenna in these pictures. Originally, they were like the antenna specialist base loads, just to stand. And then when K40 came around, we had changed it to we're going to attack the K40.
Well, they say, yeah, the drawings.
Yeah, if you look really close, you can see how.
Those are original.
No,
Those
they're
are like
original.
prints.
You can, you can see underneath there. It was the AS 131 or whatever they called it, and then the K40 came around, and
This is all happening right around when Star Wars came out.
yep,
So we came out
Get
with
the theme.
Antenna Wars.
Right.
yep,
Like,
The K40 versus Firestik.
yep. That was a funny.
You guys didn't want to get into a fight with Wilson, huh?
No, there was the K40 thing was funny because at first K40 came out. We were in St. Louis at a meeting, all the industry meeting, and it was Jim Leotode who started. He was the engineer out of Florida who designed the K40 antenna, and he came to that show, and just like. Went out in the lobby and set up a little booth, a little kiosk. It wasn't a show to put product out, but I remember some covered distributor asking him about. He wanted to get into distributor because it was all distributors at this show, and he started telling people he had this program, and he was a good engineer but a shitty salesman and didn't know about marketing and stuff. And he started telling these guys, well, how do you be a distributor for these things? And he said, well, you got to buy 100 of these. And this one little guy, I wish I remember his name, a little guy. He remind me of a white Sammy Davis Jr. And he had a cigar. He said, well, you dumb son of a bitch, 100 goddamn pieces to be a distributor? I can do it on my goddamn glove box. What the hell's the matter with you? And Jim Leotode picked the shit and moved. He was going to start being a manufacturer and only selling to distributors. He went dealer direct.
That one meeting.
That one meeting made him go dealer direct. So that was, yeah.
Want to talk about these? Let's talk about this.
These are, it's just naked antennas, so you can see them. And they've got clear shrink tubing.
We tried selling.
some clear.
What was called the clear antennas. We tried selling them for a little while. They just didn't go anywhere.
And this is just me.
I think they look great.
this just me playing around. It don't work. This doesn't work.
But you mean you don't get any more range out of
It does not work. I was making for my truck.
The Vietnam
By
era.
Vietnam campaign ribbon.
It was
And-
hard.
and-
It's hard
but-
to sell different colors.
No, we said that the reason this don't work is because it's reflective tape. It's got metal in it. I'll tell you, it makes this antenna totally useless. But we sold, and when the whatchamajigger in Eric in Netherlands, it was the soccer championship. We were making antennas for different colors, green for Germany and all the different countries. We were making different antennas
you
for
smell-
for the flag, different country flags.
Sell small amounts.
Yeah, and we still have some of the colors, and
But those clears, that we tried.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
tried getting that going. It just didn't.
nobody wanted them.
I think it looks cool.
Thanks.
I do
Awesome.
too.
Yeah.
Especially that copper on black.
Yep. That's his daughter.
You start here.
That's my wife and granddaughter. Yes. And this is 4 generations. That was my aunt who just recently died, and me and Ricky and his kids. So that was, and they all have worked here. It's Alex is with the Firestik and Miss Firestik, and that's me and the production group back there. This is me, and I had hair. And 2 guys from one of the See Me magazines in Europe, we were doing, or England, we were doing a lot of stuff. They were here visiting. That's my wife again. There's the Firestik here, Lillian.
The piece.
Yep. Yeah, Lillian, that was, she's the one who recently died. And this is my first job. When I first got here in that summer of 1976, I had a Legend City. Remember Legend City? It was SRPs down there. It was a big amusement park, like a mini Disneyland. And so we had to see, but that was just me and Dan Stewart. He worked here. Here's a Rolls Royce. We drilled a hole in and put the 5-foot antenna on. that was a model, Jill. She was the you can't lick a stick girl.
Oh yeah.
I had to cut her off. She was going to want to do some things with the antennas that and that was one of the sales guys. Yeah.
Didn't they run that ad here?
She asked me. Well, I got I could show you an ad in the magazine. She was holding the antenna and licking the tail. And you said you can't lick a stick.
It looks a lot sexier than
Yeah,
when you do it.
yeah. Lick and stick. And so,
Do it again.
so anyways, after we did that, then she wanted to do some more stuff and asked, wanted to sell posters. And I went, Jill, I better see the artwork before I give you the clearance. And I never heard back. So I think it was going to go a little X-rated.
More risque.
Yeah, Ed's here. He still works at Lillian, and Ed, he's a plant manager in the back. I don't know who this is.
Yeah.
Ricky, that was a Christmas party, probably in 1979 or 1980. A bunch of people working here, and me and Lillian, and my wife and Cheryl, the redhead over here.
Since 1986.
The redhead. You already been through here.
I have been through here, but now we got the 27,000 plus views this is going to account for. They've not been through here, so.
Now this is a really good I shoot archery. So I have a target over here on wheels.
Kidding, by the way, guys.
Wire
For
spool.
the record, these are your pounds of wire.
Yeah, some of them.
Yep, not about 80
We're
90
keep-
pounds on each one of those.
We're trying to keep figuring out how people
We're not
can
gonna-
use those.
We're not going to look at how many the dates on the spools. Because you do track it.
See, that's my archery target. That's my archery target on wheels, so I can move it down here, and you can shoot all the way down there. It's amazing.
How long is this building?
Long enough, I don't know.
Long enough.
It's like an 80-yard shot, I think I figured out here.
You got a laser rangefinder?
Yeah, I have one, but
that looks like what I think of Justin doing his 100-meter dashes back.
yeah,
in the day.
it's quite a. I had marks on the floor, and I shoot my bows out of here, so sighting them in. So
Those are tapered. I just caught that. This is tapered.
That's actually what they call them. They call
Yeah.
them tapers. I
yeah,
always call them
because they have the de-reel. Yeah, they set in the wires coming off it. So
wire coming.
I use these for seats. I buy pieces of wood at Home Depot, and I screw them on, put pads on them, and make stools. I have them all over the place.
I love your mentality here. Freaking love your mentality. Yep. Paper shredders. Do not have brains. Use yours. God.
Hey, and we've never had an accident.
Yeah, that's right.
Probably because of that sign.
They come up there to use it, and they throw up and leave.
It creeps the hell out of me. Every time I look at it, I'm like, do not screw up.
So, where are you going to
So, anyways, this is shipping, and we're kind of a backwards business. No Henry. So we build the stuff in the back, bring it to the front. Build it in the back, package it in the center, bring it up here, and ship it out the door. Because all of us people in the front were too lazy to walk. This is just. We had a guy. We didn't have all this machinery. We don't use it much, a lathe, but we had hired a guy here who knew Howard Hughes. He was at the leading edge of electronics in World War II, and he designed the electronic bomb sight. And I thought he had the missing teeth, rolled his own cigarettes, drove a 1952 Studebaker panel truck. Then he brought me, he was a cranky old guy, he brought me yellow pads of paper who he'd draw. And the military wanted, can you do prints? He says, you want the goddamn thing? I'll make it. You want prints? Go hire a goddamn, and so he's got yellow papers stamped, approved, United States Department of Defense, on sketches. And he would
On a napkin.
Yeah, making bomb sites. But he could make we bought all this machinery because he was amazing. You give him a pile of shit, he would build a rocket, Put a spring in the middle and the pieces on the end, load the trays, and it'd come down here, and then the press would press them. And
So this is the actual machine.
yes,
So you built the machine so you could manually load them in the trays,
right,
and you found out that it is easier to go ahead and do them one at a time,
yes,
and you have less loss, higher quality.
yeah. But you're always trying something. We thought it was a good idea.
So I had to mute the sound. They were playing music and I didn't want to get a content strike. So she just deburred the 18 gauge mag wire and she's going to tape it to the shaft. She had to deburr it and pull the coating off the mag wire so they can solder to it later. She's going to take Scotch tape to hold the wire in place and she's going to load it in the wire winding machine. Now hold on, we got to move pretty quick here. Ready? Go. Now, if you watch, she's taking her needle nose and she's scuffing the fiberglass, and she's also knocking the excess glue off the tip with the, I guess it'd be wire dikes. So once again, Scotch tape, then she's going to cut it. She's going to pull it out of the winding machine, and then she's going to go knock the coating off the mag wire with that little tiny machine. Gotta love it. Gotta love it.
James, we had a design. when we first started making the antennas, we had made wooden benches, okay, temporarily. And years, and you kept using them. And it was funny because when monsoons would come and the weather get humid, the wood would swell up, and you had to come in here with a rubber mallet and smack a couple of things to get the gears to quit meshing, too tight. So and then when it dry out, all right, I had to move them. So finally made the steel benches and into that. So.
Slaughter station.
So
Yeah.
it leaves her station and it comes over here.
Yeah. We used to, back in the day, we did these things differently. We used to slot the fiberglass and run the wire through and out the hole.
Right.
And then when the soldering, we had a solder pot with a bunch of solder, and you hold 4 or 5 of them and dip them in and solder the bottoms on. But cutting that fiberglass was a horrible thing because it would vibrate and you'd get loose. It would break the connection. Another thing, right here, when we turned the design, when we first made them, wire just went up. It didn't take long. These damn trucks. We have a paint shaker, and we put a mount on it and put antennas in. We shook them until the mounts fell apart. No problem with the antenna. But these went on trucks. Trucks got a whole different vibrating, and the wire was cold working. If you can imagine that between here and here, that was moving enough to cold work and break the wire.
Yeah.
And so that's why these first coils, just let them move. That's all it took.
About that.
Absolutely.
Made his own stress relief.
Yes.
That's correct.
Yep. So it's always a learning. He left us, and then he missed us so bad he came back.
Yeah, we could do the sliding. Yeah, it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, I
A
know.
lot of people like you.
We get a lot of people who leave and they come back.
Always come back.
Martina was
I
one.
feel comfortable here.
How you been, man?
I've been doing great, doing all right.
Good.
Doing all right.
So how many of these irons do you go through every year?
I don't know. Ricky buys them.
The irons, we switched them pretty recently. The irons themselves, they
So
last
Weller
pretty long.
stand.
We might go through a couple, but we go through a lot
It's
of
actually a
soldering.
Weller iron too.
Yep.
Imagine that quality. Anyhow.
But they'll get a few weeks. They'll get a few weeks out of a solder tip. Just swap it out. Yeah, it's not like at home where you got one soldering iron and one soldering tip. Probably have for the whole life that you have them.
I got the same can of 3-in-1 oil I've had for 45 years. See, all 3-footers and 4-footers and 5-footers and.
We had to make a big change on those soldering. Those are $20. That's ridiculous. We spent $80 for soldering.
Coils, the little loops, that heat up. I think I got pictures up there, and running the antennas through a conveyor. Then we built a heat thing, and we used light bulbs out of copy machines, and put a bank on the bottom, a bank on the top, and it would run the antennas through that. These came as we didn't want them. We had to get them because we went from a polyvinyl to a polyolefin. And what a nightmare that was. And so these machines were actually made for packaging. We put these dams on, and when you put that plastic on these items and you see it shrinked on it, that's what that was for. And so we had to buy these machines that we can control the heat better and the speed, and put these dams on there just big enough for the antennas to go through. They've been good, and so we hooked them to the water coolers and. Yeah, you seen that heat shrink room we were talking about with the shrink tubing in it? So we have to keep. Yeah, it's got its own backup air conditioner, and somewhere is a freaking lace.
Yeah, you just got to stick your hand in the gap there.
Yeah.
All shrink tubing.
Yep.
Yeah, probably about $750,000 worth of.
Is this our string?
Feet.
Yeah. One antenna.
Wow. Yeah, this is completely finished out.
So there's 2 AC units. We have a AC unit up on the roof, and then we got that backup one. So if something that goes to hell, the other one kicks in. And then when we had that big storm, ripped the whole building apart. We had 2 storms come through here. It ripped the whole roof off here.
Microburst.
It peeled. This roof was over on the ground. It took that some bit. Everything came off. The water coolers, this roof, the conduit, it ripped through the conduit. Conduit went through the plywood like a bandsaw until it hit one of those studs or rafters, and then broke it off. Yeah, all the water coolers went off the back. The whole roof went off the back.
What gets me about that roof is it was all curled up there. Like, imagine like a blanket.
Old guy who used to work here. Guy named Don Keeley.
How about this one with the plumbing? Making handles out of plumbing.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, but the shovel handle,
Yeah.
that's mint.
Yeah, that guy, he worked here, I don't know how long, back in the 80s. And give him a piece of wood and turn him loose, and he would build shit. And we've been using. Smile, Julissa. She's got her earbuds. She don't hear it.
And I did it wrong.
The reason is it shrinks this way, but it also shrinks this way.
Right.
So you want to lock the base on. You don't want it pulling coming off the base. So we leave it extra long. So the shrink, and then we trim them off down here. This high-tech cooling, we tapped into one of the water coolers, pre-cooled the antennas.
I just noticed they kind of roll in there because of the... Right?
Yeah,
So
it's a wire, yeah.
really, it really gives it an even shrink.
Yeah, and it's got heating elements above. Then their high-tech section here, when they if I just throw them on the fans.
Simple.
Yeah.
I don't want you to get this high-tech cooling.
And it's backup cooling units?
Yes, yeah, right.
I won't record it.
He's got to trim those with that. Oh, is that tunable tip? Oh.
No, that
Oh, okay. If they don't have the tunable tip, they can cut it. You know, trim the shit off here.
table saw.
done by hand.
Yeah.
You can only do this so much.
But some of them know how
Eventually,
to do it
it
really,
gets a
really
little
fast.
sore after you're doing a lot of the twisting thing.
They can do like 5 or 6 of them at a time. I only can do 2 at a time.
We call this department.
Hips up there, all
We're
kinds
gonna
of.
go pick electronics. What? That's
Yeah, get it.
me and him. We've got an
Get a
addiction,
box
so-
and you can have whatever you want. And there is a ton of electronic components up there. We are never going to use them. We've had them here for 35 years.
The old CD radio.
Yeah, radios, VFOs, meters. Ted Miskey used to R&D stuff. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff.
Are those Antron-based antennas?
Could be
Kind of, sort of?
Antron or Shakespeare. Or,
39's on the bottom.
I don't know. We've had that stuff, all test stuff we used to use. Yeah, you got to go up there and.
Don't feel like calling me getting dirty today?
Hey man, whatever.
Well, this is the end of the story. We went on to go up to the front office and go BS for a little bit, but none of it's really all that relevant. This was a fun interview. Rick can talk now. He got the gift for gab, I'm here to tell you, but I feel really honored that these guys were willing to let me come down there and sit down with them and for them to freely and openly talk with us. And I learned a little bit, and I think it was fun for me to share it all with you guys. And Rick and Ricky, thanks, gentlemen. And also a big shout out to my Patreon supporters. Honestly, without you all, I couldn't go do these cool things. So thank you, and more to come. Believe me when I tell you there's more to come. This summer is going to be really cool. I got 4, maybe 5 more interviews that are already all lined up that I think you guys are all going to really enjoy. On to the next thing. Gentlemen, I'll see you. Click, click.